Okay, good afternoon.
Before we start, I'll quickly that's all right.
Disturbance आ रहा है बहुत.
Good afternoon, Tanveer sir.
Good afternoon, Barkha. How are you?
I am good. So I'll brief you quickly about the schematics of the program so that we can start.
Okay.
I'll be introducing everyone present on the screen. There'll be opening remarks by Dr. Manish Singh. He's Associate Professor in RMLU. And then we will begin with our discussion. There'll be more like a question answer session between you and me. And in the meantime, all the attendees can keep on posting their questions in the chat box and we can take them up by the end of the session.
No issues.
All right, sir. Um, Good afternoon to all the attendees and everyone present here. I am Barkha Divedi, a fourth-year student at Dr. Ram Rahim Mir National University, Lucknow, and I welcome you all in today's webinar, which is Career and Challenges as a Criminal Lawyer in India. Before introducing everyone present on screen, I would like to make a special mention about the chief patron of today's program, Professor Subir K. Bhatnagar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ram Manohar Lohiya, National University, Lucknow. On the screen, we have with us the program director for today's session, Dr. Manish Singh, Associate Professor RML NLU, and Program Coordinator, Dr. Vikas Bhatti, Assistant Professor RML NLU. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
And of course, we have with us Advocate Tanveer Ahmed Mir, the speaker for today's webinar. We all know sir for his stellar work. He has been practicing criminal law for the past 21 years and is a founder partner at Lex Alliance. Sir has successfully defended accused in various cases like 2G Spectrum case, Aarushi Talwar, Hemraj double murder case, Ryan School murder case, and Augusta Westland scam. Sir has also defended Robert Vadra and his associates in money laundering cases and is a counsel of Indrani Mukherjee in Sheena Bohra murder case. Sir has also defended Kuldeep Singh in Unnow rape case, and I can go on, but we all know that it won't be possible for me to cover all the outstanding work that Sir has done in past 21 years. I welcome you, sir, and we are really thrilled to have you here with us.
More than welcome.
Now I would hand over to Manish Singh sir for the opening remarks and then we can begin with the session.
Thank you, Barkha. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Okay. A very good evening to all who has joined us to attend this webinar, which is directed to provide the students, especially of law, some building blocks in pursuit of their goal, take up lawyering as a career option. Friends, law and justice are very intrinsically related. And the most important component of justice is security. Security of person, property, reputation, to name a few. To provide this security, the state and the legal system came into existence. And this responsibility, since very inception, has been owned by the Criminal Justice Administration. We all understand that law is an instrument of justice, but it cannot move by itself. It has to be moved. The law needs to be put in motion by someone, the victim. With the march of society, the legal system became complex, and then arose the need of a person who can help a victim put the wheels of justice into motion. Lawyers filled this gap and became the living carriers of justice. Lawyering, in my opinion, is the most noble profession, and with each client you helped, you changed the world. A lawyer finds himself by losing himself in the service of others. A good lawyer should espouse and share the cause and emotion of his client. By saying this, it is not meant that he should at all costs try to win the case of his client, but as an officer of the court, to help in delivering justice by putting forward all the relevant facts and plausible arguments. For becoming a successful lawyer, one needs to be jack of all trades and master of law. This journey is an arduous journey, but then great heights can only be achieved by relentless hard work. To those who wish to enter the profession of lawyering, I would say, don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenges. Wish for more wisdom. And as the saying goes, if you are resolutely determined to make a lawyer for yourself, the thing is more than half done already. Today, one of the most eminent lawyers of the devoted himself to the pious service of law and justice, and whose credentials are known by the plethora of famous cases which he successfully defended, is a living example of grit, passion, and determination. Though it is humorously said that being a lawyer is like being pregnant. Everyone says congratulations, but no one knows the pain. To take up this opportunity to listen to and get all the insights into the craft of the trade of lawyering and advocacy from none other than one of the best. He will share with us views and opinions, will dispel our fears and confusions, and enlighten us with his vast knowledge and experience. This is an opportunity which no budding lawyer would like to miss. I welcome and invite Advocate Tanveer Ahmed Mir to this discussion and leave the floor open for interaction between the teacher and the seeker. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Barkha.
Then sir, to begin with the question answer sessions, these are going to be basically the questions that all the students who are planning to join criminal law or litigation in general have in their mind. So I'll be putting forth those questions. To start with, all of us already know about your stellar work in the recent past years. However, could you also please tell us about the initial years of your practice and your introduction to the legal world? Because as far as we know, you were introduced to the practicalities of the legal world even before you started practicing law. That is during your college days. So if you could tell us more about those days.
Well, it's a matter of great privilege and personal pleasure to share this platform. And I must congratulate Dr. Manish Singh for a very sound saying. And I admire, your skills, as well as I think that your students are very fortunate to have inspiring professors and teachers like you. So, coming back to the question of initial days, but taking on what Dr. Manish Singh said, I'll tell you that a successful lawyer, uh, medium success, high success, it's a relative term. But I would say a sound lawyer who basically, solemnly takes a pledge and true to his conscience and true to his spirit, that I shall defend a case without fear, without favor, and in the interest of the client, and I shall not be overwhelmed and inundated by the proposition or magnitude of the case, takes an element of character building. The character building of a lawyer is shaped up by the inspirational teachers, professors that he had an opportunity to interact with. So I would say this, that I find, this is my first opportunity to speak to National Law School, Lucknow. I'm already getting a vibe that, the lawyers who will pass out of your institution are also going to meet a lot of success. And in that success will be an overwhelming contribution of the teachers, professors, the guides who shape your careers. So I commend all of you. And So let me take myself back and address your question. So, well, I go back to the initial days. I basically belonged to the then state of Jammu and Kashmir, now a union territory. So I shifted to Delhi University in early 90s, and the initial days of studying at the campus law center was a very inspirational journey in itself. And a number of, since you are yourself law students, so you would know that, a recommended book, a treatise on constitutional law, what we call as Shukla's Constitutional. And so constitutional law is edited by famous Dr. N.P. Singh. And I had the privilege and honor of being taught by him. So, whatever little we have achieved in our careers, a huge share of them belongs to the legendary and inspirational faculty that we had, when we were in the university. So that's one element of it. And the second element is that, the initial years are years when you equip yourself both academically, and in our times, there were not much concepts of, having serious internships with lawyers or law firms. But yes, you would have an element of individual zest. So as far as I am concerned, I would, my classes at the campus law center would finish usually by 2 o'clock, or sometimes I would skip the last class. And in about a week, about 2 or 3 times, I would go to the Tisazari district court and mostly see how, a hustle bustle court goes on and what actually happened. So that's a part of a very strong inspirational journey, and it equips you with both strong academics and how the academics are called into play in practical court realities.
All right, sir. So, we all know that you've been practicing criminal law for the past 21 years, and job of a lawyer who's practicing criminal law has a whole different set of concerns and considerations.
Yes.
And the case is even more true for a defense counsel.
Correct.
For most of the times, a defense counsel is defending an indefensible or seemingly indefensible individual.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, Mr. Abbas Kazmi, who was defending Ajmal Kasab in 2611 case, he said, defending the indefensible is not for weak. It is not only the lawyer, but his or her family also have to be really strong for that.
Correct.
We'd like to know what your journey has been like in terms of dealing with the work-related emotional stress, and what would you suggest to all the freshly undergraduate newbies who are planning to dive into this domain?
Well, that's a magnificent question. First of all, in the legal profession, now you have separate kind of streams. Some lawyers who pass out of national law schools or even 3-year institutions do have an option to go into a different kind of practice, say a transactional practice or a corporate practice. But if somebody wants to be a court-based lawyer, a litigating lawyer, well, he has to have, a heart of a lion inside. And one thing, a cardinal principle which I firmly believe is that in the field of law, one should be very strong, and you should believe in certain philosophies. First of all, it is very important for any law student, any lawyer. Each and every person has an inherent fear inside him. Say, for example, will I succeed in my life, in my profession? Will I succeed as a lawyer? Will I succeed in personal life? Will I succeed in friendship? Will I succeed in marriage? It can go on. So first of all, what you need to do is kill the inner fear inside you. Master your fear. If you are able to master your fear, the 50% of the battle is won. Secondly, in the legal profession, especially in criminal defense practice, I believe in only one mantra. That is one, not a step back. You don't take a step back. You should be the first lawyer to take a bad case. Easy cases, simple cases can be fought by anybody. But if you take a case of a person who's indefensible, it's a very tough brief, that's a case where your prowess is tested. That's where the adrenaline comes in. That's where you work more. That's where you prove your worth. And finally, you come up. Ultimately, you are not in competition with others. You're always in competition with your own self, that whether I'll be able to do justice to the brief. So, for my younger friends, it's very important that the day you decide that I'm going to be a court based lawyer, I want you to kill your inner fear. I don't want you to be scared of failures, because if you fail once, you will rise and you will win, many other battles. It's not that you're going to, in a court of law, you're going to win each and every case that you step in. If you ever have heard Mr. Ram Jethmalani, so he would have fought a lot of cases. And for example, let me give you an example. So I had the personal privilege and honor of standing shoulder with late, the what we can call as Kohinoor of the Indian criminal defense lawyers, Ram Jethmalani Sahab in the 2G Spectrum case. So same Ram Jethmalani also argued in Delhi the judges teacher scam of the Chautalas, and he happened to argue that appeal in High Court, and he did not turn up on the winning side. The appeal against that got dismissed in the High Court on the very first date of hearing. So some cases will be won, some cases will be lost. But if you sort of, go into the legal profession with a good state of mind, with a sense that I'll do justice to the brief, let me tell you, even lawyers, even if you will turn up on the losing side, you will always be appreciated for the work that you've done. So for my younger lawyers, it's very important for my younger colleagues that, you need to kill your fear. You need to do the correct things, which is to begin in the trial courts. If a criminal defense lawyer or a criminal lawyer or anybody who wants to do civil law, even in litigation, doesn't go to a trial court, does not expose himself to the vagaries of trial court practice, doesn't go through the rigmarole of understanding how evidence is appreciated, how evidence is produced, how a cross-examination is done, how witnesses are cross-examined, how a case is strategized, you will always become half-baked lawyers, With due respect to people, who don't do trial court practice, or they may be doing a tribunal practice. But any trial court lawyer or a lawyer who has an exposure in trial law, he may then shift to a high court practice. He will be always doubly strong in comparison to any litigating lawyer, be in civil field or criminal field, who's not done hardcore trial practice. So kill your fear, step into the trial court. Don't be afraid that trial courts are dingy, they're stinking, or, they don't give us a good inspiration, or we bit sprayed on. Every trial court work is done. It's not in that you may have clean courts in Delhi, you may have different kinds of courts in UP with different challenges, lack of infrastructure, but work is done there as well. And that's where you have to perform, that's where you have to learn.
Sir, those are, in fact, some very inspiring words. Adding to the earlier question, apart from the nature of dispute that is involved in a matter, there are these other factors that contributes to the emotional stress, especially for a lawyer like you, who's been representing in matters who have the potential of attracting political pressure and have in fact attracted a lot of media attention. And we can't say always, but more often than not, media tends to sensationalize the matter and declares accused to be guilty even before the trial.
Yes.
So what I would like to know is, in spite of all these factors, what really drives you to take up such matters and represent your clients with all that you have?
See, let me tell you that, any matter, irrespective of the fact whether, the media gets involved, or the writers get involved, or the film fraternity gets involved, ultimately a lawyer will not take a case apart because, the media has got behind him or the media is against. Now, let me give you an example. If you take into consideration the trial of Aarushi Talwar Hemraj double murders, so I went to do the trial at Ghaziabad District Court, and I then went to argue the appeal in Allahabad High Court as well. Now, that was one of the most media intrigue cases, perhaps, probably in last 30 to 40 years. But ultimately, the cases are not won and lost on account of what the media will say, whether they will talk against your client or whether they will talk in favor of your client. And most of them, they will be, against against your client. What you are required to do is that once you have a case, the prosecution presents a charge sheet, somebody is accused of committing a felony, maybe a murder, maybe a rape, maybe a serious criminal offense, you have to concentrate on what kind of evidence is being presented and how that evidence will, turn up in the court, and how you will, deal with that evidence, how you will cross-examine the witnesses and put the perspective and innocence of your client, into play in the court, so that finally you can have a reasonable verdict. So media pressures are there, but one doesn't need to get buckled down. One doesn't need to have a lot of stress. So let the media do what they want to. See, in a country like ours, we don't have a system like in England or United States of America, where you can file tomorrow damages suits of millions of dollars if there is reckless reporting. They have a developed system. We lack in system where there are actual damages or legal costs in frivolous litigations, and we take a person apart. So therefore, let the media do what they have to do. As a lawyer, you will concentrate on your brief, you will read the evidence, you will strategize your case, you will see first what your own client is saying, how he projects himself to be innocent, and then in terms of a strategy, you will take the case to its logical conclusion, and in the end you will definitely have a fair result. Now, taking it further, I don't know how many of you would have read the Allahabad High Court acquittal in Aarushi Talwar Hemraj double murders. Now, if you just go through it, even glimpse just through it, you will see ultimately the reason for acquittal is all on discussion of the 40 counts of prosecution testimonies which were laid before the court, the cross examinations that were done, the issues which were there, and on that basis you have a result. So let the media be the judge, let them be the jury, let them be the executioner, let them be the prosecutor, let them be the investigating officer. It should not daunt you. It doesn't daunt me. And as I said earlier, that a sound lawyer, who stands on his feet with a clenched fist, will never refuse a case. Any case that comes your way, if it's a good case, take it. If it's a bad case, you should be the first one lawyer to take up the assignment and the challenge. Never run away from a challenge in your life, in your personal life, in your professional life. So you will be able, the moment you start working, the moment you get involved in your brief, you will not even bother about what the media say. So let you go that way, and I'm sure that these issues will be there. So you just don't have to respond to those issues all the time.
That is true.
Ultimately, no judge will acquit or convict on the basis of what is happening in a TV debate. It will be on the basis of record and record alone. If the record is good, if you have cross-examined well, if you have set up the evidence on the basis of which a judge can acquit your client, you will definitely get an acquittal. But I must say in unqualified terms, any trial lawyer, any civil lawyer, any criminal lawyer, he can only win his case in the trial court. Don't think that I will win the case eventually in the High Court. No. That doesn't work. You will win in the High Court if you have actually won in the trial court. If you win on evidence in the trial court, you're definitely going to get a verdict upstairs, even if you run into a hard convictionist judge. Say, for example, you have won the case on evidence, but you run into some kind of a conviction machine or somebody who doesn't agree with you. In the High Court, once you have that evidence in your favor, you'll definitely get a verdict. So the biggest, hardest, and strongest concentration for any client, for any lawyer, has to be in the first court. If you win the first court, you can never be beaten in the higher court.
All right, sir. Sir, also all the challenges that we are talking about right now, which are involved in practicing criminal law, are very unfortunately more intense for a female lawyer.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
because of various reasons. Firstly, most of the female law students are discouraged by their families to pursue criminal law for various reasons that we have already discussed. And even if they are able to join the practice, they have to deal with the gender bias that exists within the fraternity and
That's right.
deal with the, since litigation has always seemed to be a boys club, so to speak. What is
Correct.
your point of view on this, and how do you suggest young female law students to drive their strength when they are trying to practice joint criminal law, and especially when the odds are against them?
Yes. So let me tell you that, from there is no denial in the proposition that for the girl students and lady lawyers, the trouble is double, and the challenges are far more. But my experience, has taught me that whilst we are a society in transition, and we are now giving far more opportunities, a very heavy duty is cast upon, you know people who practice in courts, who practice in offices, whether they are from Lucknow, whether they are from Allahabad, whether they are from Delhi, to encourage more lady colleagues in their offices, to encourage more lady colleagues in their chambers, and give them an opportunity. Let me tell you that there is nothing in this world, and there is nothing in criminal defense practice which a lady defense counsel can't do, which I can do. And you must, first of all, believe in yourself, and you must have the guts and gumption to take that plunge, and to take it forward, despite all overwhelming challenges. Now, let me give you I'll give you an example. In lately, about a year or 2 years ago, there was a very infamous case coming out of Udhampur, from Jammu area in Jammu and Kashmir, where a 10-year-old girl was raped and murdered, and it caused a huge fracas. And the entire Jammu bar, they didn't want to appear for the complainant party at all, and they thought that people who were accused wrongly by the police, and there was a communal tinge to the whole problem. So suddenly there was this lady lawyer, Madam Rajawat, who stood against the whole bar, and she stepped forward and took up the brief up to Supreme Court. And finally, she was, commended by a Hollywood actress on Twitter called Emma Thompson. Now, let me give you another example that how the ladies can sometimes bring far more on the table in comparison to the men. Now, Honorable Justice Geeta Mittal was the acting CJ of Delhi High Court when this case happened. And the media went berserk, and they showed the picture of the 10-year-old, 11-year-old girl, and they also took her name, which is, barred completely under the juvenile law as well as POCSO. So you can't take the name of the victim. So she suo moto summoned all the newspapers, summoned all the TV channels, and took them to cleaners and asked them to pay huge compensations, and everybody had to, literally beg for mercy. So there are cases where, the ladies can get far more. The question is, how do you go forward? So first of all, I have to encourage, as in my office, I have to encourage a lady colleague. When I recruit, I don't recruit on the basis that whether somebody is male or female in a trial court practice. I recruit somebody who can, work, who can be trained, and who can deliver. At the end of the day, see, once you have a reasonable practice and you have, say, a 6 cases a day or 5 cases a day, I can only do 2. So 4 will be done by colleagues. So sometimes, my lady colleagues in my office do a far better job in comparison to my male colleagues. Now, but you have to give a congenial atmosphere. So, it pains me personally. I remember, I'll tell you, when I went to do this Aarushi Talwar trial in Ghaziabad, I did not see more than 5 women. The number of women practicing lawyers in Allahabad is also highly skewed. You'll find very less ladies. I don't know. I've been to Lucknow High Court a couple of times. Maybe now the number is increasing. So therefore, how do you break this ceiling? First of all, I need ladies who want to take that step forward. Sir, I have killed my fare. I'm here to stay. And then you have to do what is called as hand holding. So I have to encourage a lady colleague. It's a duty enjoined upon me by human nature, by being a lawyer, and by being a senior. Now, if I say that I will not encourage a lady colleague in comparison to a younger boy, then I am not personally worth it. So unless I hold the hand, so there is a duty on every lawyer in the court that whoever comes, train them, keep them along, and then let them fly. Now, I can tell you that time is not very far. Women participating in legal, you see, for example, corporate practice is now dominated by ladies. So that day is not very far when the lady lawyers and young students like you will take that plunge first, that yes, let there be the challenges. I will row my boat within these challenges and hoist my flag. And why not?
Yes, sir. So apart from gender bias, there's another thing that has been coexisting with litigation, and that is nepotism. And for a first generation lawyer, it is very difficult to give litigation a fair shot. Uh, he or she doesn't have a ready client list, no infrastructure, no pre-existing network, etc. And on top of that, they are being paid peanuts. In fact, according to a survey of Bar and Bench, around 78% of the first generation lawyer earns below 5 lakh per annum during the initial 5 years of their practice.
Right.
So how do you suggest a first generation lawyer can overcome these constraints, and basically what would be your mantra to share with them?
Yeah. So, first of all, there's, as I say that, if a lawyer does not have self-belief, he doesn't have, that element of confidence. This is a representative profession. This is not like a doctor that you have nazla zukam and you come down and, he'll put a stethoscope and prescribes you medicine. Doesn't work like that. The legal profession is a profession where you need to have, first of all, a strong element of self-belief inside you. Nepotism is something which exists everywhere in the world. Can we say that nepotism is not there in politics? Nepotism is not there in bureaucracy. Nepotism is not there in the film fraternity. Nepotism is not there in other professions. In private institutions and public institutions, it exists everywhere. Now, I'll tell you, I am a first generation lawyer. So how does it make a difference? There are hundreds of lawyers who are first generation lawyers. Even if people have connections, they come to law colleges, they have a judicial background, they have a legal background. Yes, they may have, a little more edge, in comparison to a first generation lawyer to start with, but that's a razor thin edge. Ultimately, in a court of law, the client, whose life is at risk, somebody faces a death penalty, or he's looking at a 10-year sentence, he's looking at an attempt to murder, he can even be convicted for life. He will finally, his eyes will be all, revolving here and there. He'll say that I'll finally trust my destiny, in the hands of a person who I can feel will deliver the goods for me. And that necessarily is not a person who has a prior connection or something. And that is, where you can, come forward and be a performing counsel. So he'll give you your brief. The question is, you don't need to be scared of people having connections. That will be everywhere, all the time, every time. What you need to do is that, yes, how do you begin in the start? Yes, you need to understand that legal profession, particularly litigation in India, is a highly saturated profession. You see, none in India writes an exam like New York bar exam or a California bar exam. The bar exam, which is conducted by Bar Council of India, is pathetic. Everybody can pass that exam. But say, for example, if you increase the standard, then you may have a process of filtration. Ultimately, I believe that legal profession is it's itself an auto filter. If you're good, the filtration occurs within first 10 years. So you have to understand, the day you take plunge into National Law School Lucknow or Delhi University or Hyderabad or the National Law School at Calcutta, you have to understand that if I go into legal profession to start with, there will not be much of a payment. I'll have to work hard and rise within years. The question is, what route are you taking? If you take a good route, equip yourself with those qualities. Let me tell you, in comparison to many other professions, sometimes you have to give yourself 10 to 15 years of time in order to come to that, point where you can say that, all right, I'm also earning fine. Sometimes you can even ask a ridiculous fee, after you got established yourself. A 15-year-old good sound trial lawyer, can make money about 100 times more than a person who works with corporate law firms. The question is, are you willing to take that initial years of struggle along with you? Be prepared for that. You have to be mentally, arranged for that, yes, there's going to be a struggle and we're going to basically walk through it and compete. In a court of law, on an average, any court in India has about 40 to 50 cases every day. In 50 cases, it's not that in all 50 briefs, there will be a lawyer who will have, some kind of nepotism behind his back. No, that doesn't work. Maybe 2, maybe 3. The remaining field is open for you. And the way you perform, the judges will encourage you. The moment the judge sees a young lawyer, that yes, this person has some mettle. Now, next day or a third day, when you go with another brief, and you may have, a 50-50 chance, he'll give you a relief. That's how it works. So be prepared to give yourself some time. Concentrate on capacity building. I want my younger lawyers to have capacity building, believe in themselves, build your capacities, and let yourself fly subsequently. Don't be afraid of nepotism and don't be, overawed by it, because that's, this would be an argument for weak. That's why I said in the beginning that the moment you, go into a law school, lawyer building will take place in the law school as well as the court. I want my younger colleagues to be equally academically sound. Ultimately, what do we do in a court of law? Apply academic law to a practical situation. If you don't understand, what is evidence, how evidence is appreciated in a court of law, how evidence is laid, what is, proof of a fact or a disproof of a fact. So you need to be academically strong, also, have inherent strength, have the will, and desire to take the plunge. I'm sure that you will do very well.
So as we've discussed about the lack of stability during the initial years,
yes,
this is also one of the reasons why some of these students are driven towards joining the litigation team of a law firm.
Okay.
Now, while some law firms do give these students the opportunity to represent the matters they're working on and observe the law in action, majority of the law firms do not give such opportunity. Do you think there is a better option amongst them? And how do you suggest a student to make a wise choice? It is
well, my formula is very simple, that if any of my younger colleagues from National Law School, Lucknow, who is in 5th year, and about to pass, or somebody in third year looking to pass out from in next 2 years period of time, is that fine, you do your internships, but be focused on exactly what you want to do. Don't take a decision overnight. You need to take a decision at least a year back. So if you have just gone into fifth year, you need to take a decision what exactly I'm going to do next year after I pass out, I clear my bar exam and wear my band. So if you want to go into litigation practice, I say that first of all, believe that number one, I can't be a good litigating lawyer anywhere in India if I choose to practice out of Lucknow, Allahabad, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, if I am not a good trial lawyer. Now, therefore, I got to go to a trial court and I got to basically tie my tail with a trial lawyer. Why do I tie my tail with a trial lawyer? Because I want to see how the trial lawyer leads evidence, how he strategizes the case, how he breaks witnesses in the court, how a narrative is built up, how a narrative is smashed. And ultimately, you have to learn those tricks of trade. So there are two ways that you go into trial practice. Either you join a lawyer there and be prepared that there's not much money coming into play before 5 years period of time, or you join a litigation law firm where you get to go to the trial courts every day, and you get to do a bit of work on your own as well. See, if you do join a firm which is basically into soliciting, then all you will be doing is carrying a brief. So, the consideration of money at the initial years is a secondary feature. Take it out of your mind. Let us, face the practical reality. Practical reality, you not basically passing out, you're not in American scenario. For example, if you are a lawyer fresh and you have done, a JD from Harvard, or you've done a JD from Virginia in United States. The moment you pass your bar exam, across law firms, you have uniform packages. So you will get, say, for example, a Harvard pass out will get also $200,000 a year. And say a Michigan State University will also get about $200,000 a year. That doesn't happen in India because we are different setup. They are different setup. Here we go into trial court. We understand that there will be lesser money to come with. So let me keep the money aspect on the side burner for the time being, and let me go for a capacity building, because what I'll encash is after 7-8 years period of time. So you have to choose those law firms which will take you to a trial court practice on a daily basis and expose you to that arena where you will learn. So that's a choice that you have to make. So you can take it with the trial lawyers, people who work out of those chambers. And sometimes, if you want to basically go into metropolitan cities, then, you can join some law firms as well, who do all kinds of practices. I would want the younger lawyers first to do a dedicated work of nothing less than 5 years, exclusively in trial courts, in order to make gems of litigation lawyers out of you when it comes to 15 years, 20 years practice. And that you will see yourself.
So before proceeding to further questions, we have a couple of questions about Unnow rape case.
All right.
We have a question from Advocate Antara Singh, and she asked that Kuldeep Singh, being an elected representative, has government provided security. Why were they still treated as interested witnesses? If you could put some light on the same.
Now, in the I defended Kuldeep Singh Sengar in the Unnow rape case, and I conducted the trial when the 5 matters got transferred pursuant to the order of the Honorable Chief Justice to Delhi. So the court of Shri Dharmesh Sharma, the District and Sessions Judge, tried the murder case as well as the rape case, and this was a phenomenal order, because the Chief Justice said, I want these trials finished in 40 days. So to finish a case in 40 days, you have to go at a breakneck speed. But let me tell you, your question is that why they were called as the government security personnel were called as interested witnesses. That's, judicial interpretation in terms of what evidence has been led. ultimately, what will happen in the trial court is that prosecution witnesses will testify in any case, whether it is Unnow case or Aarushi Talwar or 2G Spectrum, and you will be, asked upon to set up and mount a defense on behalf of the accused. Now, as far as I am concerned, I can tell you with complete authority, and my perspective of Unnow rape case is that it is a completely fallacious conviction. Number one, Kuldeep Singh Sengar is not even seeing the girl who is accused of being raped, and the evidence which was laid was completely torn apart in the trial court. But yes, we have a conviction. Convictions can come, convictions can go, and convictions can be based on erroneous interpretation of evidence, or sometimes, the judges, want to write a particular judgment in terms of what they, think is correct and the way they look at evidence. Then it is up to us to take the challenge to a higher court and prove that on the basis of evidence which was laid, this conviction or this acquittal was not even justified. And that is as far as the interests of parties are taken into consideration. Now, for example, and now when I studied the charge sheet of Unnow rape case, I saw that the mobile phones of the accused MLA Sengar had been seized and they had been analyzed. Then, his tower locations had also been checked. So CBI, filed all those details as relied upon documents in the charge sheet. And those relied upon documents, indicated that at the time when the girl alleged that she was subjected to a sexual assault, Mr. Sengar was not even in his residence. But ultimately, in the judgment, the trial judge committed a huge fallacious error in not being able to represent, the tower location chart numbers correctly, and past, what I find is almost, I have no hesitation in saying that that's an unpardonable, basic error in reading the evidence. But now the appeal is admitted before the High Court, and let's see what happens in the High Court. I must share with you that I was also able to prove before the court that at the time when the girl alleges that she's sexually assaulted, actually she's speaking on a mobile to somebody else. So the time for the rape is said to be 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., whereas the girl is speaking on a mobile from 7:52 to 8:14, for which we got evidence to the court. But the way evidence will be appreciated is finally left in the domain of the judges. They have to write judgments. As defense counsels, you are to mount defense on behalf of an accused or the complainant, as the case may be. And finally, you have to leave it to the destiny of the client. Let's see what happens in appeal. I'm very confident of the cross examinations that I did. And I think that I shattered the CBI case in Unnow rape case in the trial. I am eagerly waiting for the appeal to begin, but let's get corona free.
So, another question on the same case, which asked that the Week published a repost that the court has misread the location of Mr. Sengar.
Yes.
What would be the possible effects of the same on the judgment?
I'm sorry, can you ask that question again? I missed the point.
So the question says that there's basically a repost by the Week that the location of Mr. Kuldeep Singh was misread.
Yes.
How is it possible, and could there be, like, what could be possible effects be there on the judgment?
You see, actually, for this, just give me a minute. I'm slightly low on charge. Let me connect my device. Just hang on a minute. All right. So, what you're talking about is So what you're saying is that you've seen a report in a week magazine that the tower location charts were misread. It's correct. It's absolutely correct, and that's the first page and first ground of my appeal. Now, Mr. Sengar had two mobiles, and the fact that he had an alibi was something which was investigated by the CBI, and CBI found that the alibi is correct. But despite finding that alibi is correct, they still charge sheeted Kuldeep Singh Sengar on the strength of the statement of the girl. They said, no, since the girl is saying so, so let the girl prove the case in the court. Although we have verified at our end that in terms of call charts, records, tower locations, phone moment of the accused, he is not at the place at the moment and at the time when the rape is alleged. He's at a different place. So what the trial judges that where he had to say, right, since the accused was carrying two mobiles, he misread, the call chart location, tower location number. There's a 16-digit location number, and erroneously returned a finding that upon perusal of these numbers, I come to a conclusion that one mobile is 8 kilometers away from the other mobile, whereas both the mobiles are actually at the same place. They are in the pocket. On the basis of that erroneous conclusion, he said that, Mr. Mir, it seems to me that your client has been lying about the fact that he has an alibi. I disbelieve his alibi. I also disbelieve the CBI verification. So that's a double whammy. So I said that, all right, if you want to disbelieve me, how can you believe the prosecutor, disbelieve the prosecution if they have verified? He said, nothing doing, no issues. You test your luck in the High Court, no problem. The fact of the matter is that on a basic error of reading, the judge says that your Samsung phone and your Apple phone at a particular time, which is around 9:45 in the night, are at a distance of 8 kilometers from each other, which is based on an erroneous reading of numbers. The numbers have been wrongly read, wrongly written. Sometimes it happens. But now we have a conviction. So let's see what happens in the appeal.
So those were the questions of few passionate lawyers. Now coming back to the theme, one question, answer basically all the students are trying to discover is what exactly a renowned criminal lawyer like you looks for in a student who's looking for an opportunity to assist you. The reason being that almost all the law schools more or less have the same curriculum. So what you'll find in a student CV would be a couple of MOOCs, couple of debate, mediation, research paper, and internships. So what is exactly that sets them apart according to you? And then also, if you could tell our students what should they look for in an advocate when they are trying for an opportunity to assist them in terms of experience or the number of matters maybe they deal in trial court or appellate courts. So both ways, what an advocate looks and what a student should look.
So that's a very, very important question for all younger lawyers and everybody from National Law School, Lucknow or otherwise. First of all is, what would I look in an incoming lawyer? Number one, this is very personal specific. Number one, fearless attitude. I want a lawyer to be lion-hearted, not meek, sleek people. Those people don't finally, cut ice in the legal profession. You have to be fearless to begin with. You must be a person who's willing to take an initiative. You should have the fire inside your stomach to perform and to believe in your capability. You see, what I'm going to do is only, give you a bit of polishing. So you can't come to me and say teach me law again. No. I don't have time for that. So you have to be sound in academia. In basic principles, be good. I can understand. And you can't be, having mastery of all the subjects and all the, the finer and nuances. Nuances you learn by the way. So it's basically, number one is the attitude to work. First of all, fearless attitude. Secondly, willingness and desire, to work. in a dedicated manner, to learn and to contribute. In my office, so I'll say if there is a brief, so the youngest lawyer in my office, I'll ask him a question. Now, how do you think we should proceed further? What comes to your mind for the first time that what we should do? So the opportunity, the ability to take an independent opinion, sometimes the best of the points in my office I have seen are brought up by the younger lawyers and, people who have just joined. Sometimes I feel that, the interns are also, just bustling with energy, and they're able to, rake up very good points. So you should therefore, have that ability to take a call that I think, sir, that this is the way we should go forward, and this is, what this is all about. Secondly, you must have, that ability that here is a brief. See, ultimately, do you know what is the key to you a victor in a court? Who is the lawyer who wins a brief in a court of law, be it any criminal trial? I give you a personal experience. So my answer is the person who knows the case most, on most of the occasion, turns on the winning side. Now, let me give you a personal example. I went to Allahabad to argue Aarushi Talwar Hemraj appeals, and we were, 5 lawyers arguing the appeal from 21st September 2016 to 11th January 17. A week I camped in Allahabad along with my colleagues. So we were 2 kind of senior lawyers or mid-level lawyers. So myself and there's a very famous lawyer out of Allahabad called Dilip Kumar Saab. So we were the 2 main arguing counsels. I being the trial lawyer, right from the beginning, and he being a lawyer in Allahabad, and 3 young lawyers. One is my own colleague Dhruv, Aditya, and Rajesh. So 5 of us were. Now, during the appeal, I saw that even when CBI was arguing, the judges every 3rd minute were asking me a question. And where CBI was baffling, I was answering all the queries. So my answer is, and my belief is, the person who knows the brief most of the time will turn on the winning side, because he will be the person who will answer all the questions. So I need lawyers who will be willing to, immerse themselves in the work. At least, you have to give 100. Given the situation of huge saturation in Indian litigating system, there are lawyers galore. They come up from all kinds of institutions having good infrastructural background, having wonderful faculty like yours, and sometimes having very poor faculty as well. So they will also be in profession. So since it's more saturated, you got to work more, at least for the first 5-6 years. Agar 5-6 saal pehle, the first 5-6 years, you devote yourself to the legal profession, and after those 6 years, the legal profession is going to give everything to you that you desire in your life. So as far as, this is what I look for in a younger lawyer: the spark, the fire in the belly. Rest, I'll train you, no issues. Any senior that, you work with, he'll train you, he'll give you an opportunity. And you will have to take that opportunity by both hands. I will not tell you to read the brief again and again. You got to do it on your own. Now, what kind of senior do you look? You look for a senior, who will give you that opportunity that today is a brief. I want you to argue the brief, and I'm standing behind you. Now, for example, I must have trained about 20 to 30 lawyers from my office. So, I have a lawyer who's now a wonderful advocate on record. One Mr. Bhatti, Arjun Bhatti, and, he comes from National Law School, Calcutta. And, he went to Supreme Court in the beginning and suddenly came to my office and said that, sir, I went to Supreme Court. I thought that I wasted my time. Can I work with you? I said, yes, no problem. Right away from tomorrow morning. No interview required. I like the spark inside you. So I took him to a trial court. I said, you're doing the final argument before a horrendous judge. Now I'm standing before you, behind you, and he will not lynch you because I'm here. But you got to do justice to the brief. He did very well. Now he's an astounding lawyer, doing wonderfully well. So the opportunity that you look in a lawyer is any lawyer who's going to give you an opportunity, hold your hand, and let you play in the court, but you should not be sort of, going to the court unprepared. The client will come back to me and say that कि साहब जिस वकील साहब के साथ आपने भेजा उनको तो केस के बारे में कुछ पता ही नहीं था. That's the tragedy. So what you look in a lawyer is, one, gives you an opportunity, and what I look in for a lawyer is, don't worry, even if you are not that academically sound, even if you have some challenges, I'm going to basically do a good, sandpapering and polish you very well. That's what all lawyers are enjoined to do. That's a duty. What I learned from the legal profession, I'm duty bound to share with you. Because if I don't, how do tomorrow's Gopal Subramaniam again, come into play? भाई नया हरीश साल्वे तो आप में से ही आएगा. So therefore, you have to first of all build those qualities. So you have to hold somebody's hand and then have a belief that yes, I can do it, and why not? So take that initiative, my young friends. You have to take an initiative yourself. After all, you're in a representative profession. You stand for somebody in a court of law. The man behind you, he doesn't talk. You talk. And you have to deliver for your client to the best of your capabilities.
Thank you, sir. And the last question for the session would be, what are the reforms that you would like to suggest in the field of legal education for law schools to inculcate in order to give rise to outstanding criminal lawyers like you in future?
So I think I think there was some question, scraping on the screen. Can you ask that question again so that I can frame my mind for an answer?
So there have been hybrid questions that we've been receiving from students as well.
All right.
There's one from Mr. Shaurya Rohit. He's a fourth-year student at RML NADU. And
Okay.
he asked if you could share your endearment towards the books, like books you would like to suggest for young lawyers. That
okay, book reading, anything that you read is always welcome, because you are always inspired by readings. So I would say that, anything that your faculty recommends, as far as building academia, strong academia, academic, capabilities in you is more than welcome. More than, but after, this academic exercise, there has to be a very serious debate in the classrooms as well. So therefore, it is in those debates, where you sort of, build your initial qualities towards lawyering. There's got to be a regular visits, either on your own or through your faculty or organized by your professors. I want all of you to go to trial courts to see what's going on, and how are the lawyers doing their work. Don't think that, whatever language they are using is good, bad, ugly, whatever happens, doesn't matter. So ultimately, these are the steps that you take. You read anything, everything. You see, you have to have varied knowledge. A trial lawyer is not a lawyer who only reads evidence. You also have to read, if you're doing a murder case where there is a gunshot, you have to be a good ballistic as well. So you have to do a cross reading. Where there is DNA, you have to know and understand and read that how DNA evidence is laid, how DNA evidence is broken. So have an appetite of reading. That's always welcome. This is a profession where you read. That's why I said, when you read, you will have a tiger teeth grip on the factual narrative of the case. And you will have answers for everything, because the prosecutors, the judges, they have 60 cases a day. So they will not, have the same kind of grip on the case as you will have. Good reading, capabilities is always an add-on. It's always welcome. You must, build those abilities all the time.
So one thing that I would like to know your opinion about, whether disengaging the teachers from actually practicing in court of law, whether
Yes.
it's done good or worse to the law
That's
teachers.
done worse. That's done worse. Let me tell you, that's very bad. And, the teachers, anybody, who teaches, ultimately, a teacher is first a person who inspires a student. For example, I've been taught by Dr. MP Singh, Dr. Parmanand Singh, Dr. Moolchand Sharma, a very famous jurist from Campus Law Center. And Dr. Moolchand Sharma of Delhi University had a very rare achievement. He was accepted for an SJD in Wharton in United States without doing an LLM in USA. So first of all, you have to have a strong academic. Secondly, is there is a great disservice, if the practicing lawyers don't teach or not allowed to teach, then you don't get the benefit of people, who are performing there in the court. Now, for example, if I am to deliver a lecture on circumstantial evidence, I will not tell you about what is circumstantial evidence in the law book. I'll tell you what is circumstantial evidence and how I, played with circumstantial evidence in the cases that I fought. For example, if somebody needs to teach, in a court of law, sir, there is something called as contradiction. How do you break a witness? You break a witness by contradicting a witness, calling a contradiction into play. Now, if that contradiction goes to the root of the matter, the testimony is gone. So when I will talk about contradiction, I will give you practical demonstration of contradiction in Aarushi Talwar. I'll give you a practical demonstration of contradiction in Sheena Bohra murder case. I will give you a practical demonstration of contradiction in the 2G spectrum, or even in Kuldeep Singh Sengar's rape case in Unnow, or other cases. That's an add-on, because what a practicing lawyer and a teacher, does together, if a person teaches, also practices, he's able to bring on your table his practical experiences of how the academic knowledge is, called into play practically in a court of law and put into practice and leading to a desired result. Because obviously, when I defend an accused, I definitely want him to be acquitted, irrespective of whether he killed or not.
All right, sir. We have already run out of time. So, lastly, any words of wisdom to the students you would like to say, and then we can wrap up the session.
All right. Now, I think there is some question from Sahil Kumar, sir. I couldn't read. I think were you the lead counsel in Aarushi Talwar? So many counsels, yes. So I would answer this, Mr. Sahil, that as far as Aarushi Talwar Hemraj double murders is concerned, I led the defense in the trial as well as the appeal, and that's how it went. So words of wisdom, to conclude is, first of all, I would thank all of you for inviting me over, and this is a wonderful interacting session. So first of all, what we have to understand is, as lawyers, as seniors, as practicing lawyers, we have to engage with the students community regularly. So this lockdown has been a boon, because I have been invited, to so many places I've never been able to go because of time constraints. But in this lockdown, I have spoken on the platforms and shared my knowledge at least about 10 to 12 times. So first of all, we are under an obligation, naturally, and from legal profession, that what we learn, we have to pass on. If I do not pass on the knowledge to my younger lawyers, I will be doing disservice to me and disservice to the legal profession. So you have to imbibe these qualities. Remember, when you will learn, you will also pass on. Secondly is that legal profession, certainly litigation is a tougher option. But then, there is a saying, when, the going gets tough, the tough get going. So you have to, have those qualities inside you, build those qualities, have that confidence, self-confidence that, yes, I can do it. And set up, higher goals. Don't be afraid, of challenges in your life. And, you must set up your goals that I'm not going to basically, just be settled or be complacent, with certain things that I have achieved. I got to, there's a constant tussle that let's work more, let's go higher. And you have to have a constant fire inside your belly. and keep working in the right direction. After all, a merit lawyer, all, even if you're a first generation lawyer, let me tell you, it's only a matter of time and nothing else. Maybe, you will take 2 years more, but the success will be far more sweeter. Why? Because you will have that solace, and that solemn pride will be yours, that I have, achieved something behind my back and under my belt without anybody propelling me on my own individual abilities. And that's what I, advise is, take the correct route, believe in yourself, decide the course of action that you want to do, choose your career, and just give yourself some time. That's all. You see, if you think that in about 6 months' time, I should be having a BMW, under me, that's, then, better don't join the profession at all. You have to have some element of patience as well.
Thank you so much, sir, for those wonderful words. I'm sure these students have already found the inspiration they were looking for. And with this, we have come to the end of the session.
All right. So before you close, so since there have been so many younger lawyers, so I would like to share my email and my mobile number. So I think you already have my email, so you can put my email on the platform, and I undertake that I will answer each and every email from every student who writes to me and seeks any kind. I can say that definitely there are time constraints. I cannot answer each and every question on a webinar, but my email is open. It's an open line. You can write a mail to me, write a question, and I will definitely reply back.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we have come to the end of the session. I would like to thank the chief patron of today's program director and program coordinator. A special mention should also be made for Mr. Sanjay Divakar. He has been instrumental in conducting all the webinars smoothly. And of course, thanks to you for taking out so much of time for us and for such a wonderful and enriching session.
More than welcome, anytime, anytime. Even if you call me, on any, you want me to talk on any subject at any point of time, discuss the cases, have an interactive session, you're more than welcome anytime. Because what I have realized is that, I've, for last 10 years, we've been totally immersed, and, I have to, share my obligation, perform my obligation of, providing a direct access to all the students, because I don't know which answer will equip which lawyer, and he will, attain great heights in his career. That's very important. So I will be willing to talk to you again on any issue at any point of time. You're more than welcome.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to all the attendees as well for attending. Hopefully, we will have another session like this soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.